There are some things we do because we believe in them, and there are others we do to earn a living. As a nurse whose typical day at the office has included everything from intubating a patient to running clinical trials for breakthrough medications, I count myself among the lucky few for whom these two categories overlap. Caring for and educating patients and their families is quite literally my job. But it's also an ethos I try to continue off the clock. So it should probably come as no surprise that I've participated in my share of awareness events over the years. Whether jogging through yet another For a Good Cause 5K, or donning yellow bracelets for cancer awareness, I've been there, done that, and have the t-shirts to prove it. But it wasn't until I became a patient myself that I began to suspect much of this good-intentioned awareness work might be missing the mark. And that in order for philanthropy to be both meaningful and effective, it must also be mindful. I also learned the hard way that breast cancer is not a disease easily tied up in a pretty pink ribbon. Just 3 short years ago, I was much more accustomed to the view from the other side of the hospital bed. I'd recently taken a job in a busy ICU about 3 hours away from our home in the Yakima Valley. I had 2 beautiful children and a hunky husband, and our family was preparing to relocate to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, the picturesque town near my husband's childhood home. Cancer wasn't part of the game plan. But in February of 2012, a tiny lump about the size of a pea derailed my best laid plans and changed our lives forever. We were staying at a cousin's house on Super Bowl Sunday when I found it. It was a fluke, really. I was beneath the guest room bedroom covers and took my bra off at a little different angle than normal. And there it was. It was small and movable and painless, and as a nurse, I knew the implications of a lump that wasn't there before, but I also knew I didn't have many risk factors. I was young, 32 at that time. I'd had my babies young and breastfed both of them. And though I did drink the occasional glass of wine, it's not as though I was pouring it on my Cheerios in the morning. In fact, the only risk factors I had for that lump being something more insidious than its size would suggest was having breasts in the first place. Because of this and the fact that I had no symptoms, I decided to wait to get this looked at by a physician. But the day after my insurance benefits began, I went in for my annual exam, and before you can say max out of pocket, I was thrust into a whirlwind of expensive biopsies, diagnosis, and procedures that would eventually initiate me into the club nobody wants to join, breast cancer. Fortunately, we had caught it early. I was stage 1B. But I had 3 affected lymph nodes, and so given my young age, I was soon entered into an aggressive treatment plan which included surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, and a year of targeted therapies. And despite a commitment to what I deemed aggressive optimism, I was much more ill than I had anticipated. Though every antiemetic in the book was prescribed, I lost so much weight, my hip bones jutted dramatically, and you could count my ribs. And as treatment rounds continued, my nails discolored and lifted from their beds, and my hair predictably fell out by the handful. No awareness campaign in existence could have prepared me for the stark realities of breast cancer treatment. To make matters worse, I was fired from my job when I became too sick to work. forcing our family to rely on the kindness of family, friends, and a generous community to make ends meet, let alone attempt to conquer the stacks of medical bills which taunted from our kitchen counter. And as friends I met along the way, friends who had each fought just as hard, who were positive and lovely, and had precious families of their own, succumbed to this dreadful disease. The title survivor felt more a burden than a prize. Finally, on June 13th, 2013, I completed my final treatment and began sorting through the rubble left in cancer's wake. At a time when many people my age were establishing their lives and building a foundation, my career had derailed, and I'd lost an entire year in the lives of our children. Brutal treatments left my once strong body devastated, and our finances lay in ruins. I was physically, psychologically, and financially broke. I thought completing treatment would be my victory lap, but it was all I could do to crawl through the mud across that finish line. And summing up the devastating experience of breast cancer treatment with a shiny pink ribbon seemed laughable at best, and at worst rather cruel. Though I was soon bombarded with a commercialized sea of awareness, there seemed very little mindfulness to the way this disease was represented. But there were certainly plenty of ribbons. Pink ribbon coffee mugs, t-shirts, bracelets, and yogurt. Pink ribbon football uniforms, soups, Facebook games, handguns, and rather ironically, hair care products. And then there was my personal favorite, the ill-fated pink ribbon KFC bucket of chicken. Because, hey, why not combine the number 1, cardiac disease, and number 2, cancer, killers of women in the United States, along with 11 secret herbs and spices. Comes in original and extra crispy. Breast cancer has become the shopping disease because altruism sells, and marketing gurus know that. And while people do have the ability to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others, you won't find it in a bucket of chicken. In fact, products that provide a false or overinflated sense of contribution may be doing more harm than good. What I learned is there are no regulations on the use of the almighty pink ribbon. In fact, many ribbon-wielding products contain actual known carcinogens. And donations made to cancer causes are often limited, unstated, or capped. Which means despite the onslaught of Pinktober breast cancer awareness campaigns, we've made precious little progress toward preventing or curing this disease. It turns out awareness just isn't enough. Awareness won't get us out of the driveway on the journey to find a cure. And if we are to continue to make gains against this disease, it will require a more mindful and intentional approach. And although breast cancer is currently the most visible example of how cause marketing is being used to sell products and change behaviors, it will certainly not be the last. For every successful viral philanthropy campaign out there, such as the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, there are 100 opportunistic copycats waiting in the wings. There are also many people willing to take advantage of public displays of philanthropy in order to help their image. Several politicians were among the masses of people clamoring to pour a bucket of ice while donating a nominal sum to the ALS Foundation. But many of these same politicians had voted against NIH medical research funding in the past, essentially crippling the very foundation they were so publicly cheering for. And though ALS is certainly a disease that requires attention, even the most successful campaign will have failed if the conversation ends once the last of the ice melts away. Thanks to the wonders of the internet, each day we have laid out before us a great feast of information. Every dish imaginable is available at our fingertips 24/7. But the catch is, there's so much out there, and most of us lead such busy lives that we only have time to lick the frosting from a single cupcake. And there is precious little substance in frosting. But making a difference is possible, and it's easier than you'd think. And because, thankfully, it doesn't take a personal health crisis to bring about real change, I'd like to share with you some of the ways that I've learned to forego the frosting and practice more mindful philanthropy. Question everything. This is a big one. And if there is one take-home message to glean from my time with you, let it be this. Teach yourselves to ask questions. Learn to read the fine print, whether purchasing a product or participating in an event. Ask, who profits from this and how? Will people benefit directly, or will funds raised be funneled into expensive marketing campaigns or administrative wages? And perhaps most importantly, learn to question yourself. Before you buy into a request, analyze your own intentions. Will posting a no-makeup selfie spread knowledge or raise money? If you find yourself participating out of vanity or social media-induced peer pressure, how exactly is that helping others? And if you can't find the answer to these questions, don't be afraid to walk away or keep scrolling. If we are to move beyond awareness for any cause, we need depth, we need buy-in, but we don't need more frosting. Dig deep. I'd like to say I found my cause, though in reality, it found me. But perhaps that's the way it should be. Perhaps connecting deeply with an experience is the only way to find where you can do the most good, no matter how painful that process may be. After my diagnosis, there were people in our lives who slipped away once the harsh realities of my illness set in. But there were many others who chose to stand beside me in the trenches. The bond we share today transcends any I have ever known. And those surgeries left me marred and forever altered. I chose to fill the scars that lace my chest with color as I began work on a mastectomy tattoo. The process, on my own terms this time, helped me to reclaim some of what was taken and transform the grit to grace once again. And through it all, I documented my journey on a blog that started out as cheap therapy, but eventually reached thousands of people from around the world. By simply sharing my story, I was able to inspire mammograms, genetic testing, and an honest conversation about the state of our healthcare system from both sides of the hospital bed. We each have unique stories and perspectives that others could benefit from. And though I cannot tell you what your message should be, I can tell you it's already within you. Meaningful philanthropy should be more about whom we are as individuals and not just a bandwagon to jump on. We can make a real and tangible difference in the lives of others if we take the time and effort to be intentional about it. And while the real issues are not often convenient or even pretty, they will reach others more deeply than any ribbon or bucket of ice ever could. So don't be afraid to tell your story. You never know whom you may reach through the telling, and it might just set you free. And finally, be the change. The truth is, pink, the color, won't save me or anyone else. Pink won't help pay my medical bills or limit the use of carcinogens in the environment. Pink won't help bring about the new, less caustic treatments and the efficient cancer detection methods we so desperately need. Pink can't do that, but I can. I can volunteer. I can tell my story. I can stand up when I see that from my vantage point, we have jumped the tracks with our awareness campaigns. I know that we can do better, but it's up to all of us to make sure that happens. At the end of the day, no matter what your cause or which colored ribbons you stand behind, impact will only be as powerful as what you put into it. Real progress can only be made by choosing to partake in more of the meat and potatoes of the real issues and less of the frosting. So as you peruse the ribbon-bedecked merchandise this Pinktober and beyond, please read the fine print, ask questions, and choose to be more involved. With more than 40,000 deaths attributed to breast cancer each year, we cannot afford to waste a single penny on more coffee mugs. And for those of you who enjoy wearing pink, by all means, continue doing so. Each of us must find our own way to survive this disease. And if pink provides a rallying cry or gives strength in any way, then it certainly has its place. But I urge you, do so responsibly. And as for me, I'm going to sit this one out. Pink's just not my color. Thank you.